writers. So, Mr. Simpson gave you your directions for yesterday, and I'm going to give you your directions for what we're doing today. So today we are going to examine how new technology, new knowledge, and specialization increased productivity. So we are going to go through a bell ringer or bell work and then go through the guided notes for section 3. And then me and Mr. Simpson on our classes will post section 3 comprehension questions. So that's our agenda for today. And let's go ahead and get started with our notes. So go ahead and pull up your chapter 3 guided notes. Now this is something that me and Mr. Simpson posted last Monday. So it is going to be, when you pull it up, it should be around slide 33-ish, because that's about what slide it is for us. It may be a little bit different because we have a few extra slides than you all do, but that should be the slide that you're on. Now, while we go over these, I'm not going to wait as long on the video for you to type it. So as we're typing in the words, go ahead and pause the video so that you can type in the bolded and underlined words into your guided notes, okay? All right, let's get started. Bell ringer, if you were there. You are a student at a school for scribes in Sumer. Learning all the symbols for writing is very hard. Your teacher assigns you lessons to write on your clay tablet, but you can't help making mistakes. Then you have to smooth out the surface and try again. Still, being a scribe can lead to important jobs for the king. You can make your family proud. Why would you want to be a scribe? Take a second, pause the video, and think about that. And when you've thought of your answer, you can resume the video. All right, I know you all came up with really great ideas. So let's move on and see if those great ideas that you all thought of are why some of the Sumerians would have wanted to be scribes. So some of the things that we're going to talk about today, we're going to look at the Sumerian achievements. So the Sumerians made many advances that helped their society develop. The Sumerians invented the world's first writing system. The advances and inventions changed Sumerian lives. And there was a lot of art that was developed in Sumer. So if you really like art, this will be the section for you. All right, so main idea number 1. The cuneiform system involved the use of sharp tools called styluses. The Sumerians first used cuneiform to keep business records. The Sumerians also used their writing skills to write books about history, poems, and math. Go ahead and pause the video so that you can write down the word cuneiform. All right, I hope that you've typed in that word, because you never know when we could have another vocabulary quiz, and this would be one of your vocabulary words. Invention of writing. So cuneiform, which we just found out was the world's first system of writing. Cuneiform systems could represent syllables, either pictographs. Earlier pictographs had represented only objects. The Sumerians wrote on clay tablets with a stylus. Scribes. So scribes is another word for writers, or it's a synonym. Scribes kept track of items that people traded and wrote down government records. Scribes could move up in social class because their job was so important. Other uses, they wrote works of literature, story, proverbs, songs. Scribes would write poems about the gods and military victims. They also created epics, or long poems that tell stories of heroes. Go ahead and pause your video and write in the word epics. All right, invention of writing. The Sumerians made one of the greatest cultural advances in history. They developed cuneiform, the world's first system of writing. But Sumerians did not have pencils, pens, or papers. Instead, they used sharp tools called styluses to make wedge-shaped symbols on clay tablets. Earlier written communication had used pictographs. So they were pictures that represented the word that they were trying to convey, or written symbols. So think of like if they draw, if like a stick person is kind of an example of a pictograph. It doesn't look exactly like a human. There's no humans really that look like stick figures, but when you see that, you know, oh, okay, that is supposed to represent a human. So each pictograph represented an object, such as a tree or an animal, but in cuneiform, symbols could also represent syllables or basic parts of words. So as a result, Sumerian writers could combine symbols to express complex ideas like joy or being powerful. Sumerians first used cuneiform to keep track of business records. A scribe, or a writer, would be hired to keep track of the items people traded. Government officials and temples also hired scribes to keep their records. Becoming a scribe was a way to move up in social class. And you all know, we talked about this last week. Your social class and social hierarchy, it was very important to where you were in that kind of system of social hierarchy. Because of this, becoming a scribe required you to go to school and to learn to read and write. You obviously can't be a writer if you can't read and write. But like today, students did not want to study. So here is an example of kind of the development of writing. So under this tablet, it says Sumerian writers developed from early symbols called pictographs. Writers used clay tablets to record business deals, like this tablet that describes a number of sheep and goat. So you can see these little pictures and kind of how they've developed. So you start out with, you know, look at this one that was supposed to represent a bird, and then how it slowly transformed. You see how the pictograph slowly transformed. You know, they went from kind of most basic to kind of more complex. Pretty cool, huh? All right, so the advancements and inventions changed Sumerian lives. With the development of the wheel, you know, people could have carts, they could have wagons, and then they developed the potter's wheel. The plow increased farm production. They came up with the idea of sewers under city streets. With math and science, they created the idea that the number system based on 60, and they named things like animals, plants, and minerals. They used medicine for healing and cataloged medical knowledge, which is very advanced when you think about the people we studied before were learning like how to grow wheat and barley. So these people made a lot of advancements. All right, many types of art developed in Sumer. So the two big things we're going to look at are the arts and then also architecture. Sorry, my lights went off. Okay. So for architecture, rulers lived in large palaces. Most Sumerians lived in houses with many rooms and had small courtyards. They lived near small courtyards. Mud bricks were the house's main building blocks, and then a ziggurat or pyramid-shaped temple tower rose above each city. And then for the arts, sculptors started producing a lot of statues of the gods for their temples. Jewelry was a popular item, and they used that with imported gold, silver, and gems. And then they started engraving cylinder seals, and that became their most famous type of art. So they would show battle scenes. They would use that to show ownership, and they also used them just to be decorative. So it's kind of like the idea of like these seals would be used to kind of brand things. So they would use that in their pottery to show like, oh, this belongs to this person. Or it was almost like the cylinder seal was almost like a stamp that when you rolled it over clay, it would leave this indentation or this pattern. So some of the advancements. One of the Sumerians' most important development was the wheel. They were the first people to build wheeled vehicles, including carts and wagons. Using the wheel, the Sumerians invented a device that would spin clay, and as the craft person shaped it into bowls. This device is called the potter wheel, and we still use a version of what they use when creating bowls and pottery from clay. The plow was another important Sumerian invention. It was pulled by oxen, so plows were let them break up the hard clay soil and of Sumer to prepare it for planting. And if you can have this invention and an animal do that, it was much less work on the people of Sumeria. So this technique greatly increased farm production. It increased their efficiency in being able to plant. The Sumerians also invented a clock that used falling water to measure time. Sumerian advances improved daily in many ways. Sumerians built sewer systems under the city streets. They learned to use bronze to make stronger tools and weapons. They even produced makeup and glass jewelry. Another area in which Sumerians excelled was math. They developed a math system based on the number 60. They divided a circle into 360 degrees and a year into 12 months. They studied science as well, naming thousands of animals, plants, and minerals. That is the thing that impresses me the most about the Sumerians, just how much stuff that they invented that we still use now. The architecture of Sumer was on display through ziggurats or pyramid-shaped temple towers. That's what we just talked about. They would rise above the city, and they were the temples to the gods that they believed in. Sumerian sculptors also produced many fine works. Among them were statues of gods created for the temples. Jewelry was popular. And then the cylinder seals that we just talked about, their most famous work of art. These small objects were stone cylinders engraved with a design. And like I said earlier, you would roll them over clay, and the design would be imprinted into the clay. Each seal left its own distinct imprint, like their own kind of brand. As a result, a person could show ownership of a container by rolling a cylinder over the container's wet clay surface. And they would even use these cylinder seals to sign documents or just for decoration. All right, so I am, me and Mr. Simpson are going to post our comprehension questions on Google Classroom. So make sure that you have all of your blanks filled in for section 3, and we will see you all tomorrow. If you have any questions, let us know. Have a good day.